Do you want the true Western hunt experience? Book your hunt of a lifetime today with Highland Outfitters, LLC. Located in Highland, Wyoming, 50 miles west of Casper. Their location in central Wyoming gives you access to some of the best hunting areas in the state. Highland specializes in archery hunts for elk and antelope. Their operations include Wyoming, Texas, and Africa. Highland Outfitters employs some of the finest guides in the business. All guides are licensed by the Wyoming Board of Professional Outfitters and Guides. No matter what the species you decide to hunt, you can count on your guide giving you 110% of being the true professional guide from start to finish. Book your hunt today at 307-797-3311 or 307-797-3312. Visit them on the web at HighlandOutfitters.com. With Highland Outfitters, you will get the true Western adventure.
Folks, welcome to another episode of On the Limb Podcast with Nature's Voice Game Calls, where deer camp becomes a reality for every listener. Join us as we talk God, family, country, and everything outdoors. Kick back, relax, and have a listen. Now, here's your host and co-host, Mike and Dan.
Well, Dan's not on with us this evening, but welcome back, folks. The NWTF Convention and Grand National Calling Competition is coming up this weekend in Nashville, Tennessee, and we've got somebody that's very familiar with that on this evening. This convention takes place at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel down there in Nashville, and it's just all-around one of the biggest shows in the outdoor industry, and, it's just an awesome time. So this evening, we have Shane Hendershot, the two-time NWTF Grand National Calling Champion, 11-time Ohio State champion, and the NWTF World Champion as well. And I believe the World Championship takes place in Ohio. I'm not sure. We'll talk to him a little bit about that in a minute. But if you want to head over to Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts to listen to all our past and present episodes, we have a ton of them there. I think our most recent one was Chris Ashley with a passion for the wild and wonderful about his Ohio buck kill. And that just aired, I think, yesterday. But we're up to 142 episodes now, so we are moving right along. So don't forget about Podcast 10 at checkout with outdoor-pro-shop.com. You get 10% off of your order there at checkout. And without further ado, please welcome with me Shane Hendershot from Zanesville, Ohio. Shane, how you doing?
Doing great. How about yourself, buddy?
Oh, man, we're doing great. I'm glad you got the time to be on here with us tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You're just out there. You said you was out there in the shop getting some calls ready?
Yep. Actually, I got home from work about 5 o'clock, and I was in the shop at 5:15, and I'll probably be out there to about 10.
I hear you. I know how those nights are for sure. So tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Well, I am married for 31 plus years. I've got 2 kids, a daughter and a son. Both are a lot older than what most people think. Let's see. I've always loved the outdoors ever since I've been little. Our dad was big into having us outside all the time, whether it was fishing, playing sports, whatever. Yeah. He probably would have preferred me to play sports, but once I got the bug for the outdoors, the sports were kind of on the back burner.
Uh-huh.
And it just kind of progressed from, I'd say, junior high to high school with the hunting and the fishing. But as far as the turkey hunting and turkey calling, I didn't start turkey hunting until 94. Yeah, 94. And a couple of my friends and my older brother actually had to beg me and talk me into getting into my first turkey calling contest in 99, which was put on by Mossy Oak and Rocky Boots down in Nelsonville, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
And I had no idea what, those contests had to do with. And, just a buddy of mine went down the year before, and he come back, he says, "You've got to go next year. You've got to go." I'm like, I'll go listen, but I'm not getting up on stage. I'm not doing that. And so that was the first time I had ever met Preston Pittman.
Okay.
And he's always been one of my favorites all throughout the years.
Yeah.
But no, in 99, that's when it all started, and it was all downhill from there.
I hear you. So since 99, you've been competing in the competitions. When was the last time you actually competed?
Well, I the way that started was the first time I ever went to the Grand Nationals was as a spectator, like most people.
Yeah.
And it was here in Columbus, actually in Ohio. It was, I believe it was 2000.
Okay.
And it was my wife and myself and Brad Taylor, a couple other guys sitting up front. And I mean, I thought you had to pay to go in and watch. And they was like, oh, no, it's free to the audience. So I was like, okay. So we go in and we watch it. And I told my wife when we walked out there, I said, I want to do that. I want to be on that stage. And I told her, I said, I'll give myself 5 years. And that was in 2000.
Nice.
And it took me a little over 4 years to qualify to go to the Grand Nationals.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? I mean, it
is very tough. And a lot of traveling, a lot of scratching your head going from one contest to the next.
Yeah.
But I was a pretty quick learner on everybody's opinion is different when it comes to judging.
Mm-hmm.
And, the first couple times I was kind of, like, man, I did so well at the last contest. The calls were similar, and I thought I ran them just as good, and I'd get completely different scores. But it's a very opinionated sport in a good way. I mean, everybody's listening for their particular hymn that they want to hear. And that would have been, 2001, I think, is the first year I ever entered into the state division, 2001 or 2002. And lo and behold, I don't know how I did it, but I tied the 6-time state champion the first time I got in the state division. That was Doug Crabtree.
Yeah.
Good guy. Yeah. And I don't know. I guess I was just kind of shocked that I even did that good. And then it took another 3.5 years of just going back and forth to smaller contests, because you have to win a state, a regional, or a state open to qualify just to go to the Grand Nationals to call in the preliminary rounds.
Yes.
But yeah, I told my wife, I give myself 5 years, and it took about 4.5. So if it had taken a little bit longer, I probably never would have went.
So now, when you started calling in the Grand Nationals, was it mouth calls or was it friction? Was your top one that you started out with?
Mouth calls all day long.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
Yep. Went. So the first year I called was in 2006, and I just wanted to try to make the cut. There were close to 60 guys in the competition.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're all good. I mean, any given day there could be out of 20 people they can win it at the flip of a coin.
Yeah.
And the first year I went out of, I think it's close to 60. I think I finished number, 9 in the prelims. So I made the cut, and nobody knew who I was. I mean, I knew who everybody else was because I watched them on TV, but nobody really knew who I was. And by the end of the day, everybody was just like, who's this guy? Who's this guy?
Yeah.
And by the end of the weekend, I met a lot of really, really good people. A lot of really good conversations happened. A lot of really constructive criticism and input and things to do. And I think in the finals, I had a few slips in the finals, and I think I ended up second to last, which I was completely fine with. My goal was to make the cut the first year.
Yeah.
And so I did. But then I went and bought a call press and a lot of frames and a lot of latex, a lot of tape, and went back in 2007, and I won it all. Yeah. So I was pretty fortunate to go that quick and to be able to win it. I mean, because there's like Doug and a few other guys, they've been calling at the national level for anywhere from 6 to 8 years, and they were right there. But like I told my wife, I said, I'll do the same thing. I said, I'll give it 5-6 years, and if I don't make the top 5, then I'll probably just kind of, hey, I had my run and I was focused on turkey hunting and whatnot. But yeah, I got lucky. I was very fortunate. I won the second time I was there.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's one thing I was going to ask. Have you always did you start out calling for someone like a call company, or have you always made your own calls?
So the first year that I went was 2006. I was making my own calls.
Okay.
In 2007, when I won, I was still making my own calls, but I was at that point to where people were starting to know who I was.
Yeah.
I was getting a few emails here and there, people offering to pay entry fees or, travel expenses to represent their companies.
Yeah, and that's a big thing because it's expensive.
Yeah. It is. And even more so today.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just wasn't a good fit for me there at the beginning. I just wanted to kind of do my own thing.
Yeah.
And so the first year I won in 2007, I was actually wearing a shirt that my wife had made for me. It was going to be the name of my call company way back then. It was going to be Henhouse Custom Calls.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And like all the pictures of that year when I won, that I'm wearing that shirt, and everybody's just like, I thought you were going to be Henhouse. And I was just like, well, that was the plan. But so after I had won, I had talked to, it's a huge difference from making the cut to winning it on who recognizes you and who wants to talk to you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it happened fast. And it was almost like, you guys just need to give me a couple weeks for this to sink in that I even won before I start making decisions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I talked to several people. I talked to several companies from Primos, Nightingale, Woodhaven. But the one that caught my attention, and mainly because it was from the ground up, starting fresh, was Zinc Calls.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Mark Six. He was really good friends with Fred Zink. And he said that, hey, Fred wants to talk to you. He's mainly, waterfowl call company, but he wants to merge into the turkey calls and turkey decoys and, and go full tilt on it. And I'm like, I said, yeah, I'd love to talk to him. And the whole time, I had these other companies that were waiting on my answer. So I went, and actually me and Josh Grossenbacher, we both went and met with Fred and Dawn and everybody up there. And they were all awesome. And by the time we left that afternoon, we were both on board with Zinc Calls. And it was about a 3.5 year stretch with them guys. And a lot of fun, a lot of traveling, a lot of learning, a lot of seminars, a lot of killing, a lot of calling.
That's for sure. Now, aren't they based out of Ohio?
Yeah, they were out of Port Clinton.
That's
when I was with them. Yeah.
Okay. They have, is it still owned by Fred, or did they sell that?
No, I'm pretty sure Fred sold back in, I'm going to say it was 2018 or 19.
That's what I thought.
Which, I mean, I knew he was going to. We had talked even when I was with him, and I think I left in 2012. I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was 2012. So from like the summer of 2007 to 2012, I was with Zinc, but we'd had conversations and I knew, that that was his goal, was to create it and build the company and then sell it and retire.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was 2018 when he did sell it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people out there that just don't realize how big the calling industry is at this show. And,
huge. It is huge.
I mean, I look at my first year down there. It was mind blowing to me at how big of a show that was. And after that,
yeah. And I was the first time I'd ever been to it down there, and the first time I was ever calling.
Yeah.
So it was a little overwhelming.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was, but they have tons of floor space with just anything that you can think of in the outdoor industry. And they, it's all revolved around turkey hunting and the NWTF. They have, call making competitions to where they'll, you'll win different things for that. And just all kinds of things, carving things. But it's a really awesome show.
Yeah, it's amazing how different it looks before all the booths go in there.
Yeah.
When I was with Zinc, I got to see that firsthand. In 2008 was the first year we went and set up shop down there at the convention, and we walked in and there was only a handful of booths that were getting set up, and I knew the place was big in there, but when there's not very many booths set up, it's like, wow,
yeah,
this is huge.
Yeah, you can walk for miles and not see everything. I mean,
yeah. And that's usually what we would try to do, especially when we were working in the booth and everything.
yeah.
Try to kind of slip away here and there and go check the things out. But then we'd always spend Sunday, which is kind of which I don't even think they do it on Sunday now. I think it's just Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
But we use Sunday to do all of our walking around and buying and wheeling and dealing and trading and all that good stuff.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So do you have plans to attend this year?
I was thinking about going down and judging, but I talked to a few guys and I told them, I said, it'll be a last minute thing if I can come. But I ended up messaging them, I don't know, last week before, and I told them, I said, yeah, I'm not going to be able to make it this year. But I want to go back. So I quit calling in 2015, I believe it was.
Okay.
And then I took a little break from it, but I went back and judged in 2016 and 17.
Okay.
Which was, I think it was just as much fun judging as it was calling in it. Because normally I would never get to hear anybody because I'm backstage waiting for my turn to go up. And then once I was done, then I was hungry and I wanted to go eat.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would listen to a few guys, but not very many. But being able to sit there and listen and judge the final 12, 13 guys that, or any given day are going to hold that trophy over their head, it was, I don't know, it was a little different. It was fun, but it was huge honor to do that.
Yeah, and you know what always got me was, like, this competition, the Grand Nationals, it sets itself apart from even the world champion calling competition.
Yeah, yep.
And I think that the Grand Nationals is more like the Super Bowl and maybe the Worlds, which is kind of odd that it works that way, but it's almost like a playoff.
It's the same way that I described it to people because they were like, well, you won the world. That's bigger than the Grand Nationals, isn't it? Because it's the world. I was like, in theory, you think that's the way it is. I mean, You're still competing against the same guys, whether it's titled the world, the nationals, the state, the open, the regional. But the Grand Nationals, just the atmosphere at the convention, and it's the NWTF, and it is definitely the Super Bowl of the turkey calling competitions. Anybody who's anybody is going to be there, whether they're calling or they have a booth or they're doing seminars or just talking turkey. Whoever is in that, they're all going to be. You're going to see everybody there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're going to take a break real quick and hear a word from our sponsor. We'll be right back with Shane Hendershot.
Hello, Hunt Chef Nation.
Turn any cooking experience into an extremely wild one with Hunt Chef's delicious dozen seasonings, jerky, snack sticks, and brine kits. All 12 seasonings are packed full of wild flavor. Perfect on pork, beef, chicken, lamb, vegetables, soups, venison, elk, or any wild game. Order today at huntchef.com or call the Hunt Chef headquarters at 724-780-3377. Order today at huntchef.com or call 724-780-3377. And remember, eat what you kill. All right, guys, we're back with Shane Hendershot, the two-time Grand National champion and 11-time Ohio State champion. So that, Shane, that 11 times, that's consecutively.
Yeah, yep.
That's just crazy. Tell us a little bit about that ride.
It was a good run. It was definitely a good run. Once I got to like 7, 8, I'd surpassed, Doug Crabtree, the guy that I had tied the very first time I got in it. And then everybody started buzzing and saying, well, you got to go for 10. Tom Stuckey, pretty sure originally was from Ohio. And he had won it 10 times. Not consecutive, but he had won it 10 times total.
Okay.
And so I told, all my buddies and my wife and family and everything, I said, I'm shooting for 10. I said, I'll shoot for 10. I said, but once I get to 10, I said, I'm going to have to go for at least 11 because I got to break his record.
Yeah.
And so I actually talked to Tom after I'd won my 10th one. I talked to him at the convention that next February, which was just before our state calling contest. And I was going for number 11. And I talked to him for a good bit. And he's everybody in that industry. They're amazing people. Mm-hmm. But I talked to him for probably an hour, and I told him, I was just like, well, I said, I'm gonna try to beat your record. I was like, we're tied now. I said, but I said, here next month, I said, I'm going up to try to beat your record. And I said, I'm pretty sure I want to beat it. I said, I probably ain't gonna call much after that. And I was like, I've set goals for myself. I was just like, once I reach those goals, I was like, I may call for a little while longer, but I say, once I beat your record, I think that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
He was just like, and you've won it 10 in a row? And I'm like, yes, sir. And he's just like, well, you've already beat my record. He goes, I didn't do it 10 in a row, but you still did it 10 times.
Yeah.
I was like, same number. I said, but I just want to do one more. He's like, well, you know what they say? Records are meant to be broken.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he was a good dude. He is definitely one of my favorites as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, the people that you meet throughout this industry and these different trade shows and things, it's amazing along the way. And that's one of the good things about us doing this podcast. All those people are coming together, helping us continue the hunting heritage like we do and trying to get the information out to people. And, we've done 142 episodes now, and I think there's only been like 3 that we've had without, a guest. So,
wow.
That's been a good thing about being in the industry and, getting to know all these people and different things like that. And I'd reached out to you, I think it was last year, and I was wanting to try to get you on last year before the Grand Nationals, and it just didn't work out. We'd already had Shane Simpson on, and we've had some other people, and I just like, man, we definitely got to try to get Shane on this year, so I figured I'd message you today and see if that was possible. So we sure appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Yep, I do. And like you said, yeah, we did talk last year, and I can't remember what it was, what happened, but our schedules just didn't line up for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, it didn't, and we get pretty busy at times, and then there's other times where we don't have much going on, but it just goes like that sometimes.
Right.
So are you still on the pro staff for Mossy Oak? Do you still do any of that?
Yes, sir. Yep. I'm still on the pro staff.
Oh, that's good. So tell us a little bit about Stanley Wimes. Kind of hit on this a little bit when we had him on, but give us your opinion on how big of a difference the calling competition and the judging itself is from actually being in the woods hunting turkey.
The difference?
Yeah.
Between the judging, well, in a nutshell, it's you don't have to worry about mistakes in the woods.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
But on the stage, I've said it a million times, talking to people, and that's the way I started out because I started turkey hunting before I started competitive calling.
Yeah.
And I just kind of took that onto the stage with me. And there was some people that were like, yeah, well, you probably shouldn't do this. You probably shouldn't do that. They don't like those extra little clucks or broken yelps and this and that. They're listening for this. If they say they want to hear the plain yelp, you just do the plain yelp.
Yeah. And
I was just bored with that. I'm like, it's a turkey calling contest. It's not a guy blowing a turkey call.
Yeah.
And
so you had to add a little realistic.
That's just what I did. I tried to sound as much like a real turkey. And when you have judges that are going completely off of just the sound, if you close your eyes, and you can ask pretty much anybody, if you close your eyes or you're behind a curtain and there's a guy running the turkey call, whether it's a friction or a diaphragm, doesn't matter. If you put it together in the rhythm and cadence as a real turkey without any mistakes or with as minimal mistakes, the judges have no other reason but to score you good.
Yeah.
And that's the way I always looked at it. I mean, turkey hunting, I still call the same turkey hunting as I would on stage, but I don't worry about slipping.
I got you. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big difference. But, I kind of get to trying to want to get everybody's perspective that we have on that's been in the competition because, a lot of people's always like, it's so much different than being in the woods. And I like how you mentioned that you put that realism in there with it.
It was, like I said, when I first started, I was still learning. I was listening. For the most part, I was trying to just learn about the competition calling. I was this naive when I first started competing. I didn't realize people traveled all over the United States to different contests. I just went to this contest in Athens or Nelsonville, and the very first contest I ever got in, like I said, I met Preston Pittman there. He's the one that talked me into finally getting into it because I wasn't going to get into it because all the people.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's not me getting up in front of all these people and doing that. And he was just like, well, everybody's here for the same reason, buddy. He goes, even if you do mess up, he goes, it is what it is. He goes, you learn from it. So Preston, I have a lot of respect, and I owe a lot to Preston on him even talking me into getting into my very first contest.
Yeah, Preston's a good man.
And I ended up winning that very first contest I ever got in. I won it.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it was, how turkey can I be without too much?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it just, I don't know, because there was a lot of guys that had been in the competition for a while, some big names that were telling me these things, especially once I got to the nationals. There was a couple of them that would come up and say, I'd be backstage breaking my calls loose, getting ready to go up on the stage, and they're like, man, I really like that and this and that, but I probably wouldn't do this and probably wouldn't do that. And it's my first year ever being there, and it was kind of like, man, I need to change this. I need to do this. And then finally I talked to my dad and my older brother, and they said, you do what got you there. And I was just like, will do. And I did. And then the next year, like I said, I went back the next year with even more experience and even more confidence and ended up winning. But I added as much realism and turkey into my calling as I possibly could. Now, there was still some guys that would still get scored really good.
Yeah.
Because you could do too much, put it that way. You could do too much, like adding too much stuff in. Even though it's turkey, you could add too much stuff to where your sequence sounds a little busy.
Yep.
So you want to find that fine line of what flows, what sounds good, what sounds turkey, without making a mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's kind of the way I based all of my competition calling off, was I want to sound as turkey as I can.
Yeah.
When you got MCs that are MCing it, like Waddell and a few other guys, and
Drake.
Joe Drake,
yep,
and judges coming up to you when you're done and saying, did you leave some feathers on the stage when you were done, bud?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, even if you don't win, that's those kind of compliments from those big names in the industry. You never have to win it. It's great to win it, but in my opinion, just guys like that giving you feedback like that,
mm-hmm.
it's priceless.
Yeah, it sure is. So were you some of the inspiration to Mike Pentecost and the realism marketing scheme that he does on his calls?
Not aware.
You don't think so?
Well, I can't say yes or no.
I got you.
All I can say is that once I won in 2007, there were a handful of guys like Van Sice, Grossenbacher, Sally McGraw, Billy Argus, Chris Parrish. There was a lot of guys that were putting enough in to sound real.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of those names that were the ones that were telling me not to do too much and not to add what I was adding in my practice runs.
I got you.
And I almost didn't. But then, like I said, I talked to my dad and my brother, and they said, you just do what got you there.
Do what got you there. That's awesome, yeah.
That I will. I was just like, if I can run them like I've been practicing the last couple hours, I said, I've got a really good feeling, a really good chance that I can win this.
Yeah.
And I called really good in the prelims, too, in 07 when I won. I think there was 58 guys, and I can't remember if I won the prelims, but I know I was the top 2 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Woodhaven's a massive company. They're a big company. They have one of the biggest booth areas there at the Grand Nationals. At least they did when I was there. But
yeah, they still do.
There are a ton of call companies there that have a presence on stage that is in the top 10 or even the top 5 runnings.
Oh, absolutely. It's like every time I get on social media, it's like there's another call company popping up. There's a custom call company. There's this guy or this guy starting this and this guy, and good for them. Good for them. It is social media platform. I mean, anybody can do it. Yeah. Anybody can do it. You just you get your stuff in the right hands with the right people, and if it's good enough, the word will get out.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's I mean, it's just amazing to me that, like you're saying, the call companies that have popped up in the last 5 years. I mean, it's just It's just crazy. I mean, back when we started our company 12 years ago, it's been 13 now, but there wasn't really that many smaller companies out there that you heard about. You heard about all the bigger ones, Quaker Boy, Primos, Flextone was out then, and different stuff. They were just coming on the scene and stuff, but and of course Woodhaven's been around forever.
Yeah, that was Fred's goal when he hired me and Josh. He said, I want to compete with Woodhaven Custom Car.
Yep.
And I was like, well, that's a great goal to have.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Even now, I mean, they're one of the biggest names in turkey calling.
Yeah.
And turkey call production and turkey call sales, and it's just everybody knows Woodhaven. Everybody knows the name Woodhaven.
Yep.
But there for a while, when I was with Zink, Josh was with Zink, and we were doing the shows and the competitions, and I was winning. It was
Zink.
Mike Pentecost was probably getting a little nervous.
Yeah. Well, you kind of turned the tide there for Zink, and that's like you're saying, that's what he wanted. He wanted to come away a little bit from duck calls, but still have that arena because they were big in that area. But to get into he's seen the I guess the popularity that the turkey calling industry was getting.
Yeah, and Mike didn't have anything to worry about. Those guys are amazing, and they've got her figured out.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So, what's your favorite diaphragm cut?
I go back and forth between a batwing and a combo.
Okay.
Yep, and it's always when I do most of the stuff. Well, I think it's both hunting and competition when I was competing. A lot of people are surprised. I run a lot of 2-reed calls.
Okay.
And I mean, my cutting and cackling and some excited hen yelps.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is a 3-reed, but it's a light 3-reed stretch to probably medium tension.
Okay.
But all my plain yelps, clucks purrs, fighting purrs, keys, some assembly yelping, it was all done on a 2-reed.
Okay. I would have never thought that myself.
Yeah, that's everybody that I've ever taught. Even when I was first starting, like everybody's just like, "You're doing that on a 2-reed?" I'm like, I learned how to call on a night and hail screaming hen too.
Yep.
And I love that call. I would go to the store. Well, it used to be Buck Outdoors, but it's called Vance's now. But I remember going up there and I dropped $80-100 on a handful of calls and bring them back to the house. And, I would have to manipulate a few of them, a little tweak here and there, but
yeah,
that's all I ran in the competitions. And like the first time I qualified for the U.S. Open, I remember like it was yesterday, it was Chris Parrish and Sally McGraw both come up to me and they're like, "Are you running store-bought calls?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I thought everybody did." And he was like, no, you need somebody to build calls for you, or you need to start building your own.
That's funny.
And then Sad was like, "No, don't tell him that. Then he's going to start whipping us."
Yeah.
And so I bought a press off Brad Taylor, and then I ended up buying another one, a better one. Well, something that was a lot easier to run and build calls off of Fab Bright here in Ohio.
Yeah, he's
ever since I got that press, it's just been downhill. I mean, I love the press. I can't say enough about it. I mean, you can build every call close. Not every one of them is going to sound exactly the same because the thickness in latex is different.
Oh yeah.
Even though you stretch it to say 180, 190 on your side tension, then you put a little more back tension or a little less back tension on it, or you cut offset a little to the left or a little to the right, or a little deeper, a little shallow. There's so many things that go into building a call to change the sound other than the way you blow it.
Yeah, and you're saying, just that small little variation of a little bit left further than what it was before. It could be the same cut, but it's going to sound a little different. And I think that's what people like about the custom call industry. I'm thinking like, here in the past 10 years or more, since more companies have come onto the scene, they're noticing that you get that customization and it's not.
I get a lot of guys, they'll email me or just call me get on our social or on our Facebook page and stuff, and then I'll end up calling them or whatever. And there's a lot that outside of just the regular orders that come in that they're like, hey man, or they'll take a picture of what they have.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, can you build something like this? It's close, but I'm not sure. So I'll either call them or we'll go through emails or texts. And I said, okay, well, it's a 2-read, 3-read. I said, you know, do you blow hard? Are you light on your air? Do you blow out of your left side, right side, or you blow straight through?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we'll have several conversations before I even stretch the first call. But usually, I'd say 8 out of 10 times, if I send them a bag of calls, and I'll mark them all and I'll write everything down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you find out which ones you like. I said, I've got everything here. That way, you tell me if it was number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can tell you exactly the stretch, the thickness of latex, the gap on them, and everything.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I'll build them another bag of just those calls, and then we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe every company has their standard set that they sell, but like you're saying, you have people contact you all the time about custom ones that they want done, and they just want their own feel to it, you know?
Right. Yep. Yep.
We do a lot of trade shows here just in the tri-state and, you know, West Virginia and stuff. And I build the calls on site right there at the show, and everybody loves to see you do it. And they're like,
absolutely,
because you know we have our displays there, and I don't have any there that somebody can come up and just pick up and go. I want them to see me make it. That's been my thing since I've started doing this at the shows.
Yeah, you and I are a lot alike when it comes to that. I remember when I first started, and I went to Nashville because I did the shows for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
I got busy with work, and as we just decided, let's just do online sales for a while and see where it goes. And it's kind of been there, but in the last couple of years, I'm pushing more towards, I want to go back into it, start doing more shows and everything. But I was the same way. I took my call presses, tape cutter, everything with me. And
yeah,
you draw a crowd. You do draw a crowd.
You sure do. Yeah. Well, we'd love to have you down here at the Charleston show, man. We have a great time at this show here in Charleston, West Virginia.
I'd love to. I think next year I'm gonna go a little harder at it and schedule some shows. I was wanting to do it this year, but it just the time and my time off at work, and I knew it wasn't going to line up. But I'm looking next year, 2026. I want to do at least half a dozen shows to get back into it, and because I'm not getting any younger, and I really enjoy doing the shows and talking to people, meeting people.
Yeah. Yep. That's one of my biggest things about going to the shows. You know, we've had shows where we've done really good. We've had shows where we've done not too good. And I'm like, you know, one thing that you can always take from these shows that you go to is you're never going to put a price on the relationships that you make. Exactly. Yep. So, yeah, but the show season here for us in West Virginia starts in January. So that Charleston show usually runs at the end of January, and we have an awesome time. So I'll get a hold of you next year.
A list for next year.
Yeah, I'll remind you about it and see if we can get that on your list there.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about your game call company, Hendershot Game Calls. That came out around 2013, 14?
Yeah, it's 12 or 13 when I started getting into it, and I think we officially launched it. I think in 13 or 14. I'm not.
I believe I was
13.
I believe I was at the Grand Nationals the year that you started wearing the shirt, and everybody got into a whirlwind about, oh my gosh, what's this?
Oh no, yeah, it was 2012. Yep, it was 2012 because I was coming off of my second win.
Yeah, yep.
And I had left Zinc that spring before. Well, early summer. Yeah, early summer. It was after turkey season was over, and that's when I left and I decided, well, I want to do it because I even told Fred when he interviewed Josh and myself from day one, he just flat out asked me and Josh, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And Josh, he's just like, hopefully working for you and this and that, and which was fine. That was his answer.
Yeah.
But he asked me, he goes, what about you? And my nickname was Slingshot. So he goes, what about you, Slingshot? And I'm like, I said, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, Fred, I said, I see myself running my own call company. And he was just like, I can respect that. He goes, you got to start somewhere. He goes, I respect you being honest with me. I was like, but I'll give you everything I have while I'm here.
Yeah.
But I see myself just with my own brand, my own name. And like the Hen House Custom Calls is out the window. when I went with Zinc. And then when I finally got to the point where I wanted to do my own, I just figured, well, may as well use my last name.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was 2012, and we did probably 5 or 6 shows, and that was including nationals down there at the NWTF convention. It did pretty well. And then 13 and 14, we went back, same thing. I think the last year we did it, it was a horrible, horrible snowstorm and ice storm. Like the second to the last day.
Yeah, we were there during that one too, and we were driving back to Virginia. We were coming back.
It took
through.
us 16 hours to get. It usually takes 7.
Yeah, I was worried about Shane on his way back because it was.
Yeah,
he always drives down, and I'm like, good Lord, he brought that Explorer down there, and I'm like, man.
Yeah, but yeah, it was 2012. We launched it, and then, like I said, the next couple 2-3 years. It got to the point to where I wanted to do it full time, but at the same time, financially, I couldn't do it full time.
Yeah.
And I didn't have all the equipment to do my own stuff. So I was subbing some of the stuff out, like the pots and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But I would get them, and I would clear them, I would glue them up, I would match strikers, but I wasn't making the pots.
Yeah.
The mouth calls, I was making all the mouth calls. I still do. But I don't know. It was 2015. It was just I hit a wall, and that's when I retired from calling, and I had a full-time job, working 2 on 2 off every weekend, night shift, and trying to do that plus kids, and it got to the point where that's why I told her, I said, well, let's do the online sales for a while and see where it goes. And I said, and then I'll get back into it more, in the next few years. And it was clear up till 2022 ish. And I finally started getting a little more serious about, building and pushing them. Still didn't do any shows, but I could still do a lot more on social media. I could beat myself for not doing more on social media.
Yeah.
Especially, it's a huge avenue, especially, for any kind of sales.
It is. Yeah. But like you're saying, it takes time, and, we try to do as much as we can with it, but if you don't have nobody and you ain't paying nobody to do it, there's only so much you can do, because
right.
You've got the call building, and you've got, the online sales, and you've got the marketing like that, and you've got the trade shows, and you're taking care of all your. It's a lot.
I love it. I am not complaining one bit.
No,
but it's a lot when it's just my wife and myself.
Yeah, no, I understand exactly.
We both have full-time jobs, but this year, I say starting last year and then into this year. This year, I'm more excited this year than I have been in years. I finally broke down and bought a CNC router for the shop, a few other tools that I've been needing, and I've just been. I'll get off work. I'll come out here till 10 o'clock at night, and my days off. Nope, I'm out here all day. She'll come out. Hey, dinner's ready. All right, I'll be in a little bit. I love being in the shop, and that's what everybody at work's like. You just need to start doing it full time. I was like, it's not that easy. I was like,
yeah,
I would love to do it full time. I said, I'm just not there yet. I was just like, I'm looking at it as even if it takes another 6, 8, whatever years, I'm not getting any younger. I'll be 53 next month, so I'm looking at this as my retirement hobby as well as money coming in.
Oh yeah.
No, and I love doing it. So.
No, that's good stuff. So, where did the mind games originate from?
Well, actually, I was still with Zinc, and it was towards the last spring I was with them, and honestly, I don't remember where we were at, but I made the comment about playing mind games with them or something. We were on a turkey hunt, I know that. And we'd been out to dinner or whatever, and we come back and we're all, sitting around the fire telling stories like we always do. And I forget the conversation we were having, but I had mentioned something about playing mind games with them. And it just kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
And then once I left Zinc and I got to sitting down and drawing up different logos and everything and different verses or whatnot. And I drew the entire logo. I freehand that entire logo.
Nice.
And I had a guy with his computer skills about 10 minutes down the road, went down there and sat with him for a couple of lunches, and he worked his magic, and next thing you know, he's got stickers made, and then we're doing shirts, and I'm like, I freaking love it.
Yeah. Those were some good looking shirts that you done there in the original.
I appreciate it. There was a lot of guys down at Nashville that year. They're like, it reminds me of the Monster Energy drink.
Yes, it did. It sure did.
And I was like, well, yeah, once you look at it, I guess it does.
I think that was one of the big eye catchers, other than, you had kind of debuted your own company there during that time.
Yeah, if it would have been a little different circumstances at the time, if I would have maybe had a partner financially, I think I probably would have went all in right then and there.
Yeah.
But it was one of those deals where let's just see where it goes, and we're going to do it on our own. And I still want to get in there for my head and owe a bunch of money, and then get financially in trouble with something that I want to do for me.
Yep.
I don't want to jeopardize our finances and our family.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, we eased into it, and then, like I said, it got a little too much working full-time jobs and doing that and doing the shows. And so I was just like, let's just do the online sales for a little bit. And then 2 years turned into 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah. Yep.
But I still try to do as much as I can with donations and different banquets and some seminars, some speaking here and there. And we do handicap hunts, and I donate calls for silent auction, live auction. I'll donate one for a raffle for all the guides. They have a chance to win one, and then all the hunters will have a chance to win one.
Oh, good.
And it's a good time. That right there is worth more than any call I'll ever sell.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, hit on some new products that you got coming out real quick, and then we'll let you go.
Well, it was kind of an accident. I had a few of my buddies that waterfowl hunt, and that blows their mind that they said, well, you worked for Zinc Calls for how many years? And you didn't get into waterfowl hunting? I'm like, no, sir. I was like, I would have went, but we were always busy with turkey calls.
Yeah.
And I said, I would have went. I said, I've waterfowl hunted a handful of times with friends around here over the years, but I'm not a waterfowl guy. I can blow a duck call. I cannot blow a goose call. It sounds like I'm blowing on a kazoo. But I mean, I can blow a duck call pretty decent to kill ducks.
Yeah.
And I had a few friends and friends of their friends. Hey man, will you build me a duck call? I'm like, sure. I was just like, well, I'm not going to make the insert or anything. I said, the insert will already be, done. I was like, I can make the mouthpiece and all that stuff. I said, but I'm not going to spend the time making a jig and everything, because I can't tune a duck call for people that want to send them back to have them retuned and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get into that on top of what I'm already doing and take away from the turkey calls. But anyway, I made some duck calls, and now I guess I'm in the duck call making.
That's how it happens sometimes.
Yep. I mean, it's not a bunch, but it's enough to keep me busy.
No, that's good.
And I started dabbling with owl hooters a couple years ago, and I think it was last year. The design I had last year, I was happy with it, but I just wasn't happy with the looks of it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the sound of it, but I just wasn't happy with the looks of it. So I went to redesigning it this year, and when I redesigned it this year and I put it on Facebook, on our page, my page, and then our website, I'm still getting messages. Like, I told my wife, I'm like, we're gonna have to order a lot more owl hooter guts. I mean, a lot.
That's good.
But, yeah, that's what I told her. I was just like, I don't know. I was just in the shop, and I was in between stages on the pot calls, and I grabbed a chunk of wood and started whittling on the lathe. And next thing you know, I was like, man, I really like the looks of this. Mm-hmm. And then the duck calls are the ones that inspired me to do what I did. I added a duck call band in the middle of the owl hooter.
Oh, okay.
And I laminated different woods together: walnut, curly maple, walnut, spalted maple, walnut, spalted hackberry, laminated with walnut, and I just started turning them, and it's like, wow, I really, really like these. And the next thing you know, everybody, hey, I want one. Hey, put one on the back burner. Hey, put one back. And I'm like, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put a pre-order option on the website.
There you go.
I was like, because I know a lot of you guys say you want them, but at the same time, I don't want to sit on 70 or 80 owl hooters.
Oh, yeah.
Till next year. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I've got enough to cover several of the guys that I know are going to get them that said they wanted them. But even the ones last year, they never made it to the website. I couldn't keep up with to even put them on the website. And there was people like, are you going to build more? I was just like, I will, but it's not going to be till after turkey season.
Yeah.
I was like, once turkey season's over, I'll get back in the shop. And then they message, just wait till next year. Don't worry about it. Just wait till next year. Yeah. And then those are the same guys that see the new ones now. They're like, I'm so glad I waited.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, you kind of got to have a little variety of everything. Our staple and what we founded our business on was mouth calls.
Right.
But you gotta expand a little bit to keep things going throughout the dry times, so.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what I told the wife about the duck calls. I'm like, well, I was like, we'll see where it goes. I said, I don't have a problem making them. And I mean, if it gets to the point to where some stores want to carry them, I said, I'm not comfortable with getting to that point with duck calls, because I don't know how to tune them. I don't know if somebody sends them back, say, hey, I need this, the reeds changed out or whatever. I'm not that guy.
Well, I have never seen, but I wouldn't say there would be a problem with just selling the barrel in the store. That way people could put their own in it, because you're doing a 5/8 bore, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could be almost something like, hey, if they like that, then they would want to try it out. And as well as I do, that all those different things have different, make different sounds because of the wood that you're doing, or if you're doing polycarbonate, or if you're doing acrylic or anything like that. So it makes a big difference. So it could catch on with people like that.
Yeah. Yep. I'm excited. I'm excited. I haven't been this excited about being in the shop and making sawdust and a mess in probably 4 or 5 years.
That's good. Well, Shane, we sure appreciate your time tonight, and just let everybody know where they can find your website there and on social media, and how they can contact you and get a hold of some of the calls.
Yep, it's hendershotgamecalls.com, or cell phone. It's either my phone, mostly my phone. It's 740-215-3480.
All right, guys, you heard it right there. Get on there and check out Hendershot Game Calls. And Shane, again, like I said, we sure appreciate your time this evening, and hope to see you again soon.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on. You take care and good luck.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, guys, be sure to check us out on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. We'll be there. And make sure you check out this once it goes out to all those different networks there. We'll have all of our descriptions. We'll have all of our links to different things there, and what all we talked about. So we sure appreciate you listening, appreciate you watching the live tonight on Facebook. Hope everybody has a great evening, and stay warm. This episode of On the Limb podcast with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Douglas Barrels, located at 5504 Big Tyler Road, Charleston, West Virginia, 25313. Douglas Barrels has been handcrafting ultra rifle barrels for over 70 years. Their expertise is impressive and unmatched. If you want barrels made by meticulous craftsmen who take pride in their work and do not take shortcuts in production, give Douglas Barrels a call at 304-776-1431 or visit them on the web at douglasbarrels.net. Get your ultra rifle barrel today from Douglas Barrels, 304-776-1431.